How's it going, guys? It's Pelican here, back with another video. Real quick before we go ahead and get this started, Merry Christmas. It's definitely been a rough year, and so, I hope everyone's having a really good Christmas. You got what you want, you're with your family, all that great stuff. And as well as always, if you can, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's super appreciated. Supports the channel, all that great stuff. So, we're going to be doing another TCG article today. I really like these, and you're probably going to be seeing a lot of these as well. Because I feel like, it helps me learn, which is one thing I always like doing, especially when it comes to this card game. Learning is definitely a big thing, and, it helps other people as well, and, it introduces me to, and other people to a lot of things they normally wouldn't have been introduced to. But in this one, we're going to be talking about mutants, on how strong they really are, how they're actually very strong for what people give them credit for. So we're going to go ahead and just go through it real quick. So he goes ahead and talks about, it's a rogue deck, to be realistic, but you can get the deck for very cheap. Just about every card you can get under $2, except for like the ultra rares. So you can get all the ultra rares for under 15 bucks as well. And like the secret rare is like $3.64 according to TCG. So the deck's most expensive cards are, as he says, are largely optional. I have to disagree for the most part. With E-Telly, I think you need to be playing that card. If you're not going to play E-Telly or Extravagance, you need one of those. Like, in my opinion, E-Telly is great, and it's good in other decks as well, so I think it's definitely a good pickup. It's like a little less than like 15 bucks right now for the cheapest copy I've seen. And so he's just saying, why mutants? And it's not just that they're cheap. Mutants have a surprisingly high skill ceiling that lets them stay competitive at a local level. I'm not trying to imply the mutants are secretly one of the format's best decks, but I think you'd be surprised at how well the deck's engines work when it's backed with a serious trap lineup. You'll have to make some concessions on trap choices if you're really on a tight budget. Most of these cards are generic enough that you probably have copies already. Now, so this is just him really just talking about their where they came from and some of the other options, and then he talks about how he found like what he thinks is the best option. But so the mutant engine does two things. First, it delivers a consistent stream of new cards, much like Invoked and Mech Knight engines, and second, it provides a few different outlets for card removal. That's something I do like. I always loved decks like that, that always had the next turn planned out. They were always able to keep playing, which is really good. I think decks like that are always good. This deck just needs a little more support, something to keep it going as well. And there's a couple like little things that I think need to get buffed out before this deck becomes like a tier 1 deck, anything like that. But he says most of your card economy comes from the search effects of Mutant ST46 and Mutant M05. There's a trick to remembering their names. ST46 searches mutant spells and traps when it's summoned, and M searches mutant monsters when it hits the field. ST for spells and traps, and M for monsters. Pretty straightforward. He talks about Mutant GB88, but we're not playing that because that card sucks. So you're going to start your turn either by summoning ST46 or M05, then using their effects to search for a theme stamped card. After, you'll use their effects to tribute themselves, banish a card in your hand, and summon another mutant from your deck based on the card you banished. And he says that plays a backbone of the entire deck, and it's crucial that you pay attention to the card you're banishing and pay for it. It's also a moment where your opponent's most likely to hit you with a hand trap. So, playing Gamma and Call by Grave is probably a good idea. And then there's 3 level 8 monsters in the deck. So we have Mutant Arsenal, and has a quick effect that banishes a monster in response to your opponent's monster effects activation, which is useful for removing one of your opponent's potential link materials. Alternatively, Mutant Mist can respond to trap effects, but since traps aren't played widely enough, and since Mist requires you to banish a spell for its summon, there's little reason to really be playing it. However, it does come with the, and then we have Mutant Beast, which is probably the best one, the one that you're going to summon. However, Mutant Beast comes with a handy spell negation that's actually worth leaving on the field. You'll almost always be summoning Beast first, since your combos require you to load your banish pile with a monster. So you have your basic play down. Summon Mutant ST46 or Mutant 5, search a card, summon Mutant Arsenal or Mutant Beast from the deck by banishing a card in your hand or from your field, and if you banish a copy of ST46 or M45 or M05, you'll be able to summon that with Mutant Evolution Lab. So if you guys don't know what Mutant Evolution Lab does, on activation it specials a mutant monster from your hand or banished. I think it has to be level 4 or lower. I'm pretty sure it does. I'd have to double check it. But yeah. So the lab effectively lets you summon and activate both your water mutants on the same turn. And of course, lab itself is searchable by ST46. Basically, if you open 46 and 05, you'll want to start with ST46 and banish an M05 to set up Mutant Evolution Lab. And if you open the M05 in Lab, you'll search ST46 and use your search to grab Mutant Cry. All of these plays are leading up to activate Mutant Cry, which can fuse and summon a mutant by shuffling cards on your field, in your grave, and or face up in your banished zone back into your deck. Both mutants have quick effects that make them worth summoning on your opponent's turn. That's especially true with Mutant Synthesis. The real prize is Mutant Ultimus, but you might be surprised by how frequently you'll summon it. It's very difficult to summon. When you're playing exactly 3 main deck monsters that fit its material requirements. So it's a little difficult to summon this big boy. So you're not really going to see him hit the board a lot, but when you can summon him, it's really good. But Synthesis is really good as well, so it's fine. The Mutant Engine doesn't really stack up well against other popular strategies, so you want to slow them down to keep pace. So it's really just saying that, you have a few in-theme effects that really leverage it towards you, but you also do have a lot of trap cards that you want to play as well. So luckily, this particular strain of mutants happen to play nicely with some of the game's best floodgates, including There Can Only Be One and Summon Limit. There's a huge amount of disruption in the mutant deck between those floodgates. A few excellent trap cards like Dogmatic Punishment and Solemn Judgment, as well as a handful of theme effects. In the early game, you'll want to set up both of your water mutants and get mutant beasts on the field. That's the goal. If you can do that every turn, it's wonderful, which is why I want to play Extravagance. I play Upstart as well in my build and stuff like that. But if you guys want to see a video for that, go ahead and let me know. I think I said this earlier, but if I didn't, I'm going to be go ahead and making a video on it, and if enough people want to see me play it, I'll go ahead and play it at locals for Saturday, see what goes on. But yeah. Resolving Mutant Cry on your opponent's turn. So basically, the goal is you want to also try summoning Cross Sheep if you can, and then resolving Mutant's Cry on your opponent's turn will let you send one of your opponent's cards on the field to the grave, and then you get to trigger the Cross Sheep summoning one of the water mutants, so 46 or 5 and stuff like that, to get another card. And from there, you can continue to summon mutants by looping ST46, making rank 8 XYZ summons when necessary, and working towards Mutant Ultimus if possible. The Mutants trap lineup is a crucial element in, keeping ST46 rolling. But it's your hand traps that will give you a shot at winning the game, even if you play second. It's very difficult to win playing second, although siding extra copies of Mutant Fusion isn't a bad idea in terms of interruption. Mutants do have one big advantage over the strategies, the ability to play D-Shifter or Dimension Shifter. If you don't know what Dimension Shifter does, you can pitch him from your hand to the grave if you have no cards in your grave, and then until the end of the next turn, any card sent to grave is banished instead. So normally Dimension Shifter becomes dead in the hand after a single card lays a grave, but Mutant's excellent graveyard control makes that less of an issue. So you have a lot of good graveyard control, so this card might be live later in the duel as well, which is pretty good. And Mutants really don't have a problem playing under D-Shifter's effects. Although you probably won't want to summon Cross Sheep if you're planning on activating it. If you really enjoy the Mutant playstyle, even if walling up behind Floodgates is a bit risky, Solemn Judgment's probably your best bet to avoid getting blown out by Harpy's Feather Duster. And, we all sometimes forget about it. We don't, but, I always plan for it, which is why I do play Solemn Judgment in a lot of my trap decks as well. And I also play Strike. I think Strike's a really good one. Trap Trick also helps you dodge some targeted back removal while getting your Fusion trap into play. That is another good thing, where is it? Mutant Cry is a normal trap, so you can set it off a Trap Trick, which is really good. As well. And Dogmatic Punishment remains one of the best monster removal traps in the game as long as Elder Entitina Tis is around. And you can even send Mutant Synthesis to the grave with Punishment to help summon Mutant Ultimus faster. So you can Punishment, send your Synthesis, which is innate, and you're able to actually use that for fodder for your Ultimus later down the line, which is really good. Mutants are cheap, interesting to play, and they can become significantly better by investing in cards like Predaplant Anaconda, Extravagance, E-Telly, as well. And I think there was a big missed opportunity on last ban was to bring Itelli back to semi-limited. So for now, Mutants will have to settle for a single copy. It's definitely worth experimenting with hybrid builds. 2 Mutants plays nicely with a bunch of other themes, so if you have any cards that want to be banished, consider playing them Mutants. I really do like the Thunder Dragon version. I think it's pretty good, and if by the off chance we ever get Colossus, probably won't, but you know, if we ever do, it'll be pretty good. So that's the article for the most part. I do like how what he says about it. I feel like a lot of decks like this are sleeper decks. This and Tri Brigade I think are definitely really good pickups, especially because they're so cheap right now. Tri Brigade is already, showing that it's doing stuff. It's not just nothing. This deck can definitely become better down the line, and if you really like the art like I do, I highly recommend picking this deck up. But yeah, if you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. It's really appreciated as well, and it keeps you up to date. Hit that bell so you guys do get notified when I do post. But yeah, see ya.